Good evening and welcome to this live audio coverage of this Liga Portugal clash emanating from the Estádio da Luz, a fantastic stadium in central Lisbon. We are seeing Benfica playing host to Braga. My name is Jay Cooper and I will be your commentator for the next 2 hours or so to run you through the action from the Iberian Peninsula. And we'll begin with the starting 11 and benches for both teams, looking first to the hosts, Jose Mourinho's Benfica. They make two changes from their team that most recently were held to a 2-2 draw by Famalicão in the Liga Portugal. Antony Trubin retains his place in goal with the back four of Amar Dedic, the captain Antonio Silva, Thomas Araujo, who replaces the suspended Nicolas Otamendi, and Samuel Dahl. The midfield defensive pairing of Leandro Barreiro and Frederic Orsnes keep their place, with Gianluca Prestiani retaining his place on the right and Andreas Sheldrup on the left. Rafa Silva comes into the attacking midfield role in place of Richard Rios, and the striker is Franjo Ivanovic. On the bench, beginning with the goalkeeper, in ascending shirt number order, we have Samuel Suarez, Enzo Berenchea, Alexander Bar, Bruma, Gregory Sudakov, Dodi Lukebakio, Vangelis Pavlidis, Manu Silva and Gonçalo Oliveira. Turning our attention to the Carlos Vicente side, the Carlos Vicente headed Braga side that will take on, I'll just try that again, I'll put my teeth back in. The Carlos Vicente headed Braga side that will take on Benfica at the Estádio da Luz this evening. They also make changes from their most recent games. Three, in fact, from the team that were beaten by Freiburg in the UEFA Europa League semi-final in midweek. Lucas Hornacek retains his place in goal with a back five that sees one swap. Victor Gomez, Gustav Lagerbielke, Carvalho and Gabri Martinez. Two swaps, with Martinez coming in on the left for Dorgeles and Leonardo Lelo replacing Oliveira in central defence. The legend João Moutinho, the captain, retains his place in central midfield alongside Demir Ege-Tignaz, and the front three consists of Pau Victor on the right, Jean-Baptiste Gorbi on the left, and Fran Navarro through the middle, replacing Rodrigo Salazar. On the bench, beginning with the goalkeeper, in ascending shirt number order, we have Thiago Sá, Amin El Ouazani, Rodrigo Salazar, Paulo Oliveira, Gabriel Moscardo, Mario Dorgeles, Yanis Daroca, Jonatas Noro and Luisinho. Just about managed to spit my way through the starting 11 and benches for both of these teams, as the Benfica fans, with scarves raised inside of the Estádio da Luz, make an almighty noise to welcome the Eagles onto the field, as well as their opponents, the Archbishops. And there are a handful of players who are certainly worth watching this evening in Lisbon, with currently leading the line for Jose Mourinho's Benfica in Franjo Ivanovic. He has 6 goals to his name this season, which leaves him third in the Benfica scoring charts. It's curious that Vangelis Pavlidis, their leading goal scorer, is left on the bench for this one. 21 goals in the Liga Portugal this season for the second place Benfica side, who are unable to catch the already crowned champions Porto. There are 9 points separating them from top spot, but they are currently level in second place with Sporting CP, who are behind purely on goal difference. If they want to finish second in the Liga Portugal for the second season running, then the Eagles have to keep up appearances with their remaining 2 matches, as opposed to their opponents Braga, who need just 2 points from their remaining 2 games to officially confirm a 4th place finish in the Liga Portugal, again for the second season running, just like their hosts this evening. They will confirm themselves as a team to feature in the UEFA Europa Conference League, the Europa League qualifiers, and the Conference League spot will be designated to the team that finishes 5th. As of right now, that is Famalicão, who have strayed above the odds in the Liga Portugal this season. Both teams are on the field now, and the walk across one another has taken place. Lots of shaking of hands. These two teams have gotten to know each other very well this season, not just in the league itself, but also in the Portuguese League Cup. This is the 3rd competitive match between these two teams that will take place in the 2025-26 campaign, and it's also the 65th competitive game that these two teams have played against one another in the last 23 years. And during that time, Benfica have recorded 36 wins to Braga's 15, scoring 108 goals to Braga's 61. In the reverse fixtures that have taken place in the season so far, Braga and Benfica played out a 2-2 draw at the Braga Municipal Stadium all the way back in late December. Just 2 weeks later, these two teams met again here at the Estádio da Luz in the Portuguese League Cup, and visiting Braga came out victorious, winning 3-1. Benfica, with a victory here, will beat Braga for the first time this season. Lots of pomp and circumstance for this final home game of the 2025-26 campaign for the Eagles, bowing to all four sides of the Estádio da Luz, packed to the brim with red shirts and scarves being waved high, save for those travelling Braga fans in the away corner. They'll be hoping that their team give them something to celebrate, a official qualification for the second competition in Europe, the UEFA Europa League, a competition that Braga made themselves very familiar with over the course of this 2025-26 campaign. They've been eliminated at the semi-final stage in midweek by first-time finalist Freiburg from Germany, losing 4-3 on aggregate to the German side, who will face Aston Villa in the final after the end of the domestic campaign in England, Germany, and of course here in Portugal. Benfica with a semi-decent run in the Champions League, making it to the knockout stages before falling at the feet, very understandably, of Real Madrid. Both teams ready then, they've had their team talks. The man in charge of this game, João Pinheiro, is just giving his last words to the two captains and the two sets of managers to behave, and it's always worth mentioning that the man in the dugout, of course, for Benfica is Jose Mourinho, a man who needs no introduction, not just to anybody listening into this game, but also to referees, not just in Portugal, but around the world. His opposite number, Carlos Vicente, with a less notable career in management, but that's not to say he's been any less successful, spending his formative years as a manager in the Manchester City Managerial Academy as the under-18s assistant manager and the first team assistant to Pep Guardiola before joining Braga in May of last year. It was Benfica who hired Jose Mourinho to the helm, not for the first time in his managerial career, 25 years away from his first stint in charge in September. The man in charge of this game, João Pinheiro, is accompanied as well in the VAR, it is worth mentioning, by Luis Ferreira. With any luck, neither of those two names will have to be mentioned for the remainder of this match. No VAR-flavoured controversies are necessary in this penultimate Liga Portugal clash of the season for both of these two teams. Next weekend on the 16th, Benfica will be away from home against Estoril Praia. Estrela de Amadora await as the visitors to the Braga Municipal Stadium for the final game of the 25-26 Liga Portugal campaign. But for now, it's all about the action at the Estádio da Luz as we await the referee's starting whistle. It will be Benfica kicking us from right to left, who get us kicked off at the Estádio da Luz to a roar of noise in the red shirts, the white shorts and the red socks, with Braga in their away kit, an all-purple strip going in the opposite direction. The referee standing out like a sore thumb in the bright fluorescent yellow shirts and socks with the black shorts. And finally the kick-off whistle is blown by João Pinheiro, and this penultimate game of the Liga Portugal season for Benfica and Braga is underway. Benfica not keen to give up the ball in the opening seconds of this match, right the way back to their defensive line. Here is the Swedish left-back Samuel Dahl. Tries to find the ball into the halfway line, only for it to be intercepted by João Moutinho. And now the battle is on down the right-hand side from a Braga point of view, with Dahl forced to hold off Pau Victor, and eventually Benfica are able to break right over the halfway line. It's Rafa Silva driving forward, he slips it in behind, looks for the 1-2. It was very nearly brilliantly played with Gianluca Prestiani, who was making his way into the penalty area. But the return ball into the path of the Benfica man was unable to be completed thanks to the recovery of Gabri Martinez, doing ever so well to stick his foot in and intercept the ball without touching the man on the precipice of the penalty area. Not the kind of position you want to make contact with the attackers. Not very heavy contact anyway, not when the referee's standing right over the top of things, as he was. And a clearance for Braga results in a Benfica throw, which is taken from right to left. Here is the fullback Dahl again, looking down the line for the run of either Shelderup or Ivanovic, both of whom keen to latch onto a ball down the line. It's a half clearance made for Benfica after the intervention of Dedic that goes from right to left, and Benfica have it back now on the right. Now here is the midfielder Orsnes. Into the midfield area, the dead centre of the field where the captain Antonio Silva is waiting in plenty of room. Out towards the left of centre for Dahl, played inside to the Luxembourg international Leandro Barreiro. Now Silva, and now Orsnes. And now Silva again. Here is Thomas Araujo, brought into the starting 11 ahead of Nicolas Otamendi, who was suspended in Benfica's 2-2 draw with Famalicão. Played into the centre for Benfica and laid back off to the right-hand side. It was smart. One-touch football that allowed Ivanovic to play the ball into the feet of Rafa Silva on the right-hand side of the box, and Moutinho getting back and doing his defensive duties. 39 years of age, still plenty to offer this Braga team. But with just over 2.5 minutes on the clock, he concedes the first corner of the evening. It will go the way of the home team. Plenty of orders being barked by Lukas Hornacek at his defenders now as Frederick Orsnes gets ready for this delivery, out-swinging from the right flank. It's floated right to the edge of the penalty area. First time from Shelderup. It's going to drop for Ivanovic, and it's turned in, but the flag's up. That would have been very kind indeed for Franjo Ivanovic. Andreas Shelderup receiving the ball, first time on the edge of the D, a thumping volley down into the ground, and it's no denial that Ivanovic, it is close in fact, this will be looked at by VAR. Ivanovic does the right thing once the ball is drilled into his feet by Shelderup. Turns and smashes into an empty net, despite the best efforts of Hornacek. But it looks just as though he and 2 or 3 of his Benfica teammates are in offside positions as that ball is struck into the ground from 25 yards by the Norwegian winger. Questions being asked by Jose Mourinho. It's close, he says to the fourth official. Fine margins as João Pinheiro gets a word in his ear. This will go to VAR. Just a question of what Luis Ferreira in the van outside the ground makes of all this. Perhaps this is going to be a very good example of why you should play to the whistle, because Franjo Ivanovic, presuming that he was offside, may well have not shot. But he did, and he scored. And now it's up in the air as to whether or not it will count, but had he decided against it, the referee has pointed towards his assistant referee and concurred with the offside decision. Fine margins, keeping Braga level in this game. Franjo Ivanovic with a goal disallowed on 3 minutes. 3 minutes it's now turned into 4.5 after a VAR check. 0-0 it remains at the Estadio de Luz, and it's a free kick for the visitors from the edge of their penalty area to be taken by the referee Hornacek. And with the semi-automated VAR that is installed in the Liga Portugal, I can tell you with certainty that the distance by which Ivanovic was straying offside inside the penalty area was a paltry 4 centimetres. Well, Hornacek's come a long way now for a long clearance by Benfica to the corner of his own penalty area, where he's only been able to head it out for a throw that was attempted to be taken quickly by Shelderup. And the Braga defence swarming back to smother the ball away from their danger area. It's Antonio Silva, the captain, who now plays it forward, and it's into the centre circle right on the halfway line with Barreiro. Now it's out to the right hand side for Dedic. Now it's Silva into the feet of Dahl on the left hand side, determined not to show too much of the ball to Jean-Baptiste Gorby, who's come across to man mark him. Now it's switched from the centre out to the right hand side, right from the centre circle towards Dedic by Silva, but the chested touch of Amar Dedic is not enough to keep the ball under Benfica's spell. Here is Jean-Baptiste Gorby, who can try and spark an attack for Braga now. Down the left hand side it's Navarro, the sole striker. Turns and finds Gorby again. Seems as though the Frenchman and his opposite number in Pau Victor will trade wings throughout this game, because Gorby's made his presence felt in the early stages on the right and left hand side of the field. Pau Victor, no stranger to causing a nuisance to Benfica, scoring against them in that 2-2 draw in the league that took place in late December, as well as the 3-1 away victory for Braga in the Portuguese League Cup just 2 weeks later. Good feet from Gorby now on the right-hand side, on the corner of his own penalty area there, just to keep the ball away from 2 players in red. But as he lays it back off to his defender Carvalho, the attempted clearance is drilled straight into the outstretched leg of Schelderup. Throw-in taken now by Victor Gomez, who gets the return from Gustav Lagerbielke. And he's able to thread the ball through the middle of about 3 different red shirts to the halfway line, where Moutinho picks it up. Now here is Gorby on the right, opting not to drive forward, but he instead moves into the centre and lays it off to Leonardo Lello. Just about got there in the end, as Lello lays it off to the left-hand side, and it's Gabri Martinez, the wing-back, doing his best to drive beyond Amar Dedic, who throws himself in with a sliding challenge and is able to separate Martinez from the ball, as well as avoiding conceding a corner by taking a heavy touch toward the byline. Instead it's smashed away for a Braga throw, which is used to play the ball backwards. Here is Lello again. Martinez in behind. Victor's made a well-timed run. Did he bend it in time? It looks as though the game's going to continue for now as Victor tries to get the cross away. Gorby can't make up his mind whether to shoot or leave it for his teammate. He gets the return now, and the deflected strike from the edge of the box trickles into the feet of Anatoly Trubin, who will take the ball under his control under very little pressure on the corner of his 6-yard area. Benfica play their way out of danger. No offside flag raised in the end there, which means that if Braga were able to make something of that opportunity, the assistance flag would not have gone up. And Benfica, in trying to get the ball forward, have conceded possession. Here is the Braga goalkeeper Lukas Hornicek. Happy to keep the ball in his penalty area and wait for the very nonchalant pressure being applied by Franjo Ivanovic. Eventually grabs the ball with both hands and lashes it out to the left-hand side of the pitch as Ivanovic applies a smidge of pressure. And as as Braga try and clear their lines down the left, a ball forward from Gabri Martinez results in a throw right on the halfway line. He gets a second bite at the cherry with the throw-in though, and attempts to launch it beyond the Benfica back line. Fran Navarro at full speed, doing ever so well to get there ahead of the defender. Turn and smash it backwards to Martinez. Now edge of the box, it's Moutinho. Laid off now to his midfield partner in Tignaz, and as he tries to thread it through the back line, continuing the run was Pau Victor, but the pass from Tignaz was just a little bit too heavy, and it goes beyond for a Benfica goal kick, which is taken relatively quickly. Out to the left-hand side with Dahl. He rolls it back to his captain Silva. Now it's across to Araujo on the right-hand side of his own penalty area. Here's Dedic. Dedic into Prestiani. Cautious not to try and bite off more than he can chew as he approaches the corner of his own penalty area in retreat with 3 or 4 purple bodies around him. Eventually the clearance is made by Dedic and picked up by Moutinho on the halfway line. It's Gorby who lays it off. The return is made now to the defender in Carvalho. Right the way back to Hornicek, the goalkeeper, and out to the right-hand corner of his penalty area. And that takes us into the 10th minute of this game at the Estadio de Luz. Benfica 0, Braga 0. A mightily impressive stadium that I've had the great benefit of visiting in person. Stadium that really exemplifies the spirit and determination of Benfica and the history that this football club, the stories that it could tell. Of course, the great Eusebio is plastered on nearly every wall of the tunnel and the dressing room. Throwing one on the right-hand side of the pitch now. The left-hand side of the pitch for Braga, the right-hand side for Benfica, who conceded the throw after Carvalho drilled the ball directly into Rafa Silva. Throw-in to be taken by Martinez, and with every throw-in that he's taken in these opening stages, he's been very keen to get it forward, and this time is no different. It reaches the halfway line, it's laid off to Moutinho. Now here is Gorby on the left. Martinez has made the overlapping run. Gorby turns instead and leaves it back with Moutinho. Now the onus is on Tignaz to try and bundle his way beyond 2 or 3 players in red. Both he and Pau Victor trying to trade passes with one another. Eventually the ball bounces away off somebody in red. to allow Gabriel Martinez to take another throw which goes forward. Tiknaz brings it under his control and gives a return to Martinez, who tries to slip it back into the feet of the Turkish midfielder, who continued his run down the line. The final touch was off a Benfica defender. There were about 4 of them surrounding Martinez, and one of them has conceded what will be Braga's first corner of this game. Well, it was a corner that led to a disallowed goal for Benfica about 10 minutes ago that was stopped due to the flag being raised. Let's see what the visiting Archbishops are able to create for themselves from this one. In-swinging delivery, lifted up into the air off the head of the Benfica captain Antonio Silva, and the referee now pointing in the direction of Silva. Perhaps that was just of the general Benfica goal, because the pressure applied on Trubin, the goalkeeper, was too much for the referee's concern. There were hands all over different individuals there in the penalty area. Lots of battles going on. And the man in charge of this game in João Pinheiro deciding that he saw something wrong and found in favour of the hosting team, as Braga now forced to do some of their own defending, playing 1 or 2 hospital passes around the edge of their penalty area, but they maintain possession for long enough to get it out to the left hand side. Here is Martinez to Tiknaz. Now it's rolled back to the goalkeeper Hornicek, who is the Braga player with the least amount of pressure currently being applied to him. Launched away from the edge of the penalty area by the Czech Republican shot stopper. Headed down for Benfica by Silva, but brought under control by Moutinho on the halfway line. Holds it up long enough to allow the layoff to Lagerbielke, and then is forced to make a challenge on the captain, his opposite number for this game, I suppose. The other man on the field wearing the armband. It was Antonio Silva flying in to try and win the ball back for Benfica, and he went tumbling over the outstretched leg of Moutinho, but it was clean from the Braga skipper. Throw-in is the result. Antonio Silva taking the final touch. Throw-in taken by Victor Gomez, now back into Benfica territory. Gomez on the right, forced to retreat. A little bit of pressure by Schilderup. Plays it back to Hornicek. Hornicek out to the left-hand side of his defence. To the feet of Leonardo Lello. Returned to him by Lagerbielke. Forward it goes by Hornicek, chested down by Silva on the halfway line to Dahl. Dahl down the line towards Schilderup, who can't keep it under his control. Braga throw in on the right. Jose Mourinho, a man who's seen everything in major European football matches. Wonder what he makes of this opening 15 minutes. A 2-time Champions League winner in his managerial career with Porto in 2004, and then treble winning Inter Milan, in 2010. Winning Serie A and the Coppa Italia in the process of Europe's biggest competition, as Braga have an opportunity, and a bending shot from Martinez. That came from nothing for the Spanish wing-back. Right to the corner of the penalty area. Twisting this way and that to escape from Dedic, and it was optimistic, but it wasn't all that far away from Gabriel Martinez. Fancied himself there with a few options in purple arriving to help him out in the attacking department. After a sigh of relief from the majority inside the Estadio de Luz there, as that ball curled towards the top corner but eventually flashed past the post. The opportunity is on for a instant response, and Schilderup is going to get into the box, getting left and right. It's Andres Schilderup. Has he chipped it in? No, it's been cleared away before it crosses the line. That would have been a spectacular opening goal. Schilderup insistent that there was a handball in the process of that being blocked and smuggled away from the goal line for Braga. Schilderup on the corner of the box gets it from Prestiani, and then he goes left around Moutinho, and then right and left again to escape from Carvalho. He lifts it over the top of Hornicek. It's not on target. Hornicek makes the save with his hand, and I think that intervention carries the ball onto the head of Leonardo Lello, and the eventual clearance, merciless one at that, is Lagerbielke's from a fraction in front of the goal line. Now, Schilderup can claim all he wants, but this is definitely not going to be a handball or any potential penalty to Benfica. The referee determined to speak to just the captains here, as everybody else in purple and red make their presences felt around João Pinheiro. There really is no question. The slight flick of the ball from the fingertips of the goalkeeper Hornacek carried the ball onto the head of Leonardo Lello. His arms are outstretched, yes, and flailing a little bit, but nowhere near the ball in the end. And while it's contentious that sometimes handballs are given in this day and age for arms being in an unnatural position, whatever that might mean, they've got to actually make contact with the ball for the referee to even consider it. Well, the eventual outcome is going to be a Braga goal kick now, taken by Lucas Hornacek, right the way up the field, hammered towards Fran Navarro up front, and it is nodded down in favour of Braga now. It's brought under control by Moutinho, 25 yards from goal, out to the left-hand side for Navarro, who's having to hold off Dedic. Gets an approach from Martinez now and looks to the return. There was also an overlapping run from Lello, the centre-back, but the pass into his path wasn't able to be made. Interception, crucial one in the end from Dedic. The throw-in comes now for Braga, still in the attacking third. Not able to keep the ball under their control with a string of passes, and the clearance is made by Thomas Araujo. Lagabielka. Out to the left-hand side, Martinez able to clip it into the path of Navarro. Challenge from behind, and there's plenty of claims from Fran Navarro here that the ball was won back unfairly by the outstretched arm of the Benfica man, but they fall on deaf ears as Braga win back possession inside of the Eagles' half of the pitch. Lagabielka, smart touch to escape the presence of Ivanovic. Creeping further and further into Benfica territory here. Lagabielka plays it backwards to Carvalho. Now Lello down the line into the feet of Martinez. Back to goal, 25, 35 yards away now in retreat, and as he passes it backwards, it's miscontrolled by Lello. That's a very carelessly conceded throw that will go in favour of Benfica. Here is the midfielder Barreiro now for the hosts. Araujo from right to left. Dahl gets it into the feet of Schelderup, who turns and drives into the centre of the pitch over the halfway line. It's out towards the right-hand side for Prestiani. His delivery is deep. It's going to be brought down by Ivanovic on the left-hand side of the box. Not in a shooting position here. Ivanovic, can he engineer one for himself? He did his best, but the shot left plenty to be desired. In the end, it's actually gone for a Braga throw. Unable to cut across it in the way that he was hoping for there, the Croatian number 9. As mentioned, 6 goals in the league this season for Franjo Ivanovic for Benfica. The goals have largely come from the Greek international sitting on the bench this season for Jose Mourinho's team in Vangelis Pavlidis. He was also a goal scorer as Benfica fell to defeat against Braga in the opening week of January in the Portuguese League Cup. Wonder how long it will take the special one to introduce him to the game. 20 minutes played, the Estadio de Luz. Benfica 0, Braga 0. Here is Dahl on the left-hand side, right on the halfway line for Benfica. Schelderup's first-time ball attempted to be threaded through the legs of Gomez. Doesn't find Rafa Silva. Throw-in taken as a result for Benfica, which is played into the feet of Silva now by his namesake and captain, Antonio Silva. Rafa Silva just being bitten out on the ankles by João Moutinho, and the referee seeing something wrong with it. Goes over and has a quick word with the Braga captain. Free kick awarded Benfica's way, which is taken short from the edge of the centre circle. Antonio Silva. Now Frederic Orsnes. Now Schelderup. Just teasing the ball against Victor Gomez, and eventually plays it across the middle of the pitch into the path of his captain Silva. Now it's out to the right-hand side where Prestiani looks to engineer something by coming into the centre. Again releases it to Silva, the captain. Now it's back out to the left for Dahl. Now Schelderup even further out on the wing, and now closing in on the corner of the box is Schelderup. Looks for the 1-2 with Ivanovic, not going to get the return. Ivanovic unable to turn and find him, but he keeps going down the line. and eventually gets the deflected clearance in, which bounces up into the arms of Hornacek. Not without claims from Benfica that the ball crossed the byline before being gathered by the Czech Republican goalkeeper, but those claims fall on deaf ears for now. If VAR were to intervene on something like this, you have to imagine that favour would have been found for Benfica there. Hornacek definitely getting hold of the ball before it, after it left the field of play. Here come Benfica again though. They're not one to rest on a decision against them. Schelderup just about getting inside the penalty area. Again tries to go this way and that. Lagerbielke was ready for him. And the challenge made, well, I thought was going to be given for a corner, but Benfica are furious with the referee's decision here, with Schelderup and Barreiro getting right up in the face of the man in charge of this game in Pinheiro. Convinced that the final touch there came off of Lagerbielke. What does an action replay say? Almost definitely the final touch came off of Lagerbielke. I'm not entirely sure how the Swedish defenders gotten away with not conceding a corner there, but the Benfica fans inside of the Estadio de Luz quick to show their displeasure with that decision made by Pinheiro. Have thick skin to be a referee, especially at the top level of a major European football league. Dahl down the line, able to get the return, and takes a very heavy touch after the ball from Schelderup, and it's a touch that is too heavy in the end. He's unable to completely keep it under his control. It goes for a Braga throw on the right hand side. Full sprint he was there. The Swedish fullback Samuel Dahl trying his best to keep it in play. The result is a Braga throw. Lagerbielke gets it into his feet, and now here is Gorby in the midfield. Now it's Tiknaz out to the right hand side for Gomez, who just about was able to bring that under his spell and release it into the feet of Navarro. And now Tiknaz switches from right of centre right the way out to the left hand side. Brought down well by Martinez. Martinez now into the feet of Carvalho. Chips it towards the edge of the penalty area. Inadvertently headed back where it came from there by Jean-Baptiste Gorby. And that might allow Benfica, with bodies getting forward, especially Schelderup down the left. Here he is. The counter is on, right to the edge of the penalty area. Andreas Schelderup. Deflected away. Off Lagerbielke, no question about that one. Definitely a corner, says the referee. Andreas Schelderup at full speed from the halfway line to the edge of the box, almost completely unchallenged. And it was only as he made his way into the 18-yard area that Lagerbielke threw himself in front of the Norwegian. Bouncing the ball wide of Lucas Hornacek's near post. Second corner of the game for Benfica on 25 minutes. To be taken by Orsnes. This time he goes short rather than to the edge of the box and gets the return, floats it into the box looking for the head of Barreiro. Not conclusively cleared by Braga. Eventually the ball out of the box is taken by Carvalho. Benfica throw on the right hand side with Prestiani in the mood to take it quickly, unable to do so. Orsnes now on the halfway line, left of centre. Orsnes to Schelderup. Orsnes again, maintaining his position, left of centre on the halfway line, and he now floats the ball forward for the chase of Franjo Ivanovic. Mopped up by Lagerbielke, very stylishly as well, twisting away from the press of Rafa Silva. Now here is Gorby in the midfield, right of centre for Braga, lays it off to Gomez with an ambitious switch from right to left, chested up into the air by Dedic, who returns it to his goalkeeper Trubin from 40 yards. Trubin to Silva. Now Dahl again. On the edge of the Benfica defensive third. Good feet by Schelderup, flicking it over the top of a player in purple before taking a second touch a bit too heavy and conceding possession on the halfway line. Braga are able to build from the back now with Lagerbielke. It's a good ball forward by Gomez to the run of Navarro. And now here is Pau Victor on the right hand side. It's back to Gorby. Pressure applied from behind by Rafa Silva. And between Dahl and Araujo, they're able to half clear it, but it's returned to sender by Lagerbielke. Gorby on the right hand side. Back with Lagerbielke now on the edge of the attacking third for Braga. Pau Victor. Smart into the feet of Moutinho, getting to the edge of the penalty area right of centre. Eventually into the feet of Tiknaz, lurking on the edge of the box. Now a bit further back is Tiknaz. Lagerbielke again, right hand side, edge of the attacking third. Thinks about the delivery from deep, decides against it instead, and the run of Victor Gomez down the right hand side is unmarked. A first time ball into the box is ambitious and very high into the air, and Trubin gathers at the second attempt. And I think it would have mattered anyway. It looked as though almost everybody not named Victor Gomez was convinced that the Spanish wing back was straying into an offside position as he went to latch onto the ball by Lagerbielke, but an instant replay proves otherwise. It's just a shame that the bouncing pass from the Swede was a fraction too heavy. Away it goes then by Trubin. Not very convincingly headed into the air by Lelo. A bit more convincingly done by Barreiro on the halfway line, taking 2 or 3 touches with the head to keep it under his control and returning it to his defender Araujo. Now here is Silva. Invites the pressure of Navarro before laying it back off to Araujo. Further out to the right hand side for Dedic. Now it's Arsnes bringing it under his control. Rafa Silva doing his best not to run into traffic on the halfway line, able to turn and give it back to the Norwegian. And now it's played out to his fellow Scandinavian in Dahl on the left and taken over by Scheldrup. He has his pocket picked by Gomez, but Benfica maintain possession in the Braga half for now. Silva with a switch from left to right. Here is Prestiani. Backwards to Araujo. Prestiani from Barreiro. Moving into the centre from the right hand side, about halfway into the Braga section of the field. Dahl. Scheldrup tries to drift inside again from the left. Tried that a few times in the half hour that this game has been played in. Sometimes to more success than others, but still yet to find a complete way through this Braga defence as they look to return the favour now in kind. It's Martinez on the left hand side, getting to the corner of the area, trying to make space for the shot, but it's closed down at source by Dedic. Martinez gets the return and Lelo continues his run, reaches it at the byline. I think the assistant's flag on the far side's gone up anyway. It looked like it just about strayed out of play. The delivery was right into the arms of Trubin regardless. Seems as though Martinez and Scheldrup are mirrors of one another in their intentions throughout the first third of this match. When you have the ball on the left hand side of the pitch, try and drift inside and shoot. Philosophy that made Ian Robben one of the best players in the world. Jose Mourinho, a manager who knows all about Ian Robben, signed him at Chelsea, doing his first stint. Very successful, winning 2 Premier League titles and then a third upon his return in 2015. 3 of the 8 Major League trophies that the Portuguese coach of the century, as he was nominated, has won in a very vaunted managerial career that may well see him return to the Bernabeu at some stage in the near future, with the current boss Alvaro Arbeloa at Real Madrid seemingly underneath the blade of the guillotine to be controlled by Florentino Perez. Mourinho, the favourite at the moment to take over the reins in the Spanish capital. Slice of fortune here for Benfica now as Silva plays a long ball down the left-hand side. Scheldrup with a bit of a lucky break into the feet of Ivanovic, who got the shot away, and it is deflected off Carvalho, and it goes wide of Hornicek's post, kissing it on its way past. Kissing the side netting, in fact. Saying it kissed the post might be a bit generous. Smart idea from Ivanovic. Took one touch just to try and create the space on his left and drilled it towards the near corner. Hornicek was waiting. flinging his body down to his right, but it goes past the post for a Benfica corner. Delivery is Arsnes, and it's edge of the penalty area where Sheldrup couldn't resist. All he can do is blast the ball directly into the man in purple standing in front of him, and it deflects away for a Benfica throw on the right hand side, about 10 yards inside of Braga territory. Prestiani over to take it, and he leaves it for Dedic. Backwards to Araujo. He and Silva have retreated back into Benfica territory following the corner. Now it's out to the left with Dahl, back into the Braga half of the pitch. Arsnes. From the centre circle, lifted out to the right hand side with a bit too much oomph there by Antonio Silva. Over the top of Gianluca Prestiani, and out for a Braga throw on the left. It's been a cagey 32.5 minutes at the Estadio de Luz, and it remains Benfica 0, Braga 0. The better opportunities have fallen for the hosts in the early stages, but it seems as though every time they create an opportunity for themselves to get the shot away, a Braga player throws himself in front of it out of nowhere, and the eventual corner leads to nothing. The only difference to that formula came very early on in this game, when Ivanovic had a goal ruled out for offside following one of those corners. Now can Sheldrup create something? Looks to get the 1-2 from the edge of the penalty area, where Silva had made his presence known. Now here is Ivanovic on the left-hand side of the box. In fact, he's at the corner of the penalty area here. Returns it to Antonio Silva, into the feet of Sheldrup, who tried to be cheeky with the back heel into the feet of the overlapping Dahl. But all he does is clip it into a player in purple. Wins a throw as a result, and it's a throw that forces Benfica backwards. Silva to Araujo. Araujo into the feet of the right back Dedic. A player in serious contention to feature this summer at the World Cup after Bosnia's impressive penalty shootout victory against Italy in the qualifiers. As an opportunity will present itself for Benfica, and it's Silva on the turn. And down to his left hand side is Lukas Hornacek to make the save, and as Prestiani attempts to pick up the pieces on the right flank, the offside flag is raised. Silva was allowed all too much room there on the edge of the penalty area to turn and shoot in almost one fluid motion. Bielka lagging behind, trying to stick a leg out this time, and through Hornacek forced down to his left with a smart stop, pushing it very far away indeed from his goal as well, making sure there were no scraps for anybody in red, with Ivanovic lurking and Prestiani at full speed to recover the ball. Pulls the eye of the assistant referee. Hornacek with the eventual clearance off of the offside awarded free kick. Pinball in the right back position for Benfica here, which eventually falls in their favour. Here is Silva. Now on the corner of his own penalty area, it's Dahl, the left back. Forward towards Ivanovic, who is clattered into from behind by Leonardo Lelo. Referee very quick on his whistle that time. Carlos Vicente on the touchline, animated as ever, barking orders at his team not to get too close to these Benfica players when they're going for these headers. Bit of separation. It's nice that we're just shy of 10 minutes from the half-time whistle, not including any added time, of which there will be, I imagine, at least 2 minutes based on events so far. That VAR check on the goal that never was for Ivanovic in the very early stages of this game. And there's been no yellow card at this stage for Benfica as they drive, and Ivanovic into the box goes down. Some pressure applied on the Croatian, but seemingly 6 of one and half a dozen of the other as he battled away with Gomez. In fact, what seems to happen is, as both men chase the loose ball that's threaded into the penalty area by Rafa Silva, it's a push by Ivanovic onto Gomez, and then Ivanovic just falls down because he gets into the penalty area and makes contact with another person, which is what strikers do in this day and age. You have to imagine that a penalty being awarded there would have been struck out by VAR. Here come Braga now. Very smart from Tiknaz from the 30-yard mark or so, very central to lift it out to the left. Gabri Martinez plays it back to Gorby. It's a miscued pass though into the path of the Frenchman. very easily won back for Benfica, and now they might be able to create something down the right hand side. Here is Dedic. Prestiani tries to release it towards the edge of the penalty area from deep, blasts it straight into Jean-Baptiste Gorby. Throw-in is taken. Now here is Barreiro. Silva into the feet of Dahl. And now Schelderup. Waits for options, has one in Silva. He's back to goal on the left-hand side of the pitch, about as far left as you can be without running out of play. Turns and finds Silva on the edge of the centre circle. Silva out to the right-hand side, and as Prestiani waited for it to roll into his feet, Martinez got in the way, conceded a throwing in the process. Good feet now by Prestiani on the right-hand side to leave the ball at the behest of Frederic Orsnes. It's the return from Araujo. Now Silva over the halfway line, left of centre, further out to the wide area for Schelderup, who takes a smart touch to escape Victor Gomez and then goes tumbling over the outstretched left leg of the Spanish fullback. Referee again in no mood to award any yellow cards to anybody at this stage of the game, but a free kick that certainly was, and a free kick in a promising position this certainly is for Benfica. On the left hand side, about 5 yards ahead of the edge of the penalty area, call it level with the penalty spot, but in a very promising crossing position on the left for Frederic Orsnes, who takes full command of this situation. He's also got a secondary option in Samuel Dahl if he wants it. A two-man wall for Benfica of Gomez and Moutinho. Orsnes delivery, it's blasted into the feet of Moutinho. Kept going now, back out to the left for Dahl. He sends a delivery in that looks a lot more promising. It's flicked away at the back post by Gorby. Out for a Benfica throw on the right, level with the edge of the penalty area. Braga yet to conclusively deal with this attack. Throw-in taken relatively quickly by Dedic. Now it's Araujo. Orsnes the free kick taker. Now Dahl gets it into the feet of Silva, who gets a bit fortunate that the ball was flicked up and then half cleared directly back into his path. 25 yards away, but with his back to goal he turns and finds Araujo. Now it's across to the left of centre area for Orsnes. Further out to the wide area for Schelderup. Keen to have another go at Gomez, but with reinforcements arriving for Braga, he decides against it. Silva. Now here is Rafa Silva on the right hand side, bites off more than he can chew and presents possession back to Pau Victor. Here come Braga. It's Navarro down the left hand side, needs to wait for options. Martinez is one of them. Tiknaz is another as Benfica get bodies back. Now everybody behind the ball for Benfica as Braga struggle to string some passes together. And we are now in minute 40 of this Liga Portugal game. A hospital pass inside of the Braga half by Leonardo Lelo to his fellow defender in Carvalho allows Benfica to win a very cheap throw from just inside of the Braga half of the pitch. It's goalless between these two teams with Europe on the brain. Benfica keen to secure Champions League qualification here, and they might take a step towards that now as Ivanovic receives it on the edge of the box. He couldn't get it out of his feet before he's closed down by Leonardo Lelo, and a slice of fortune benefits Braga on the left as the challenge of Dedic doesn't come off, but now the secondary follow-up challenge of Orsnes combined with Prestiani just getting a bit too close for comfort as far as the referee is concerned with Mirega Tiknaz. Very theatrical tumble taken by the Braga man. It's not taken long at all from the free kick though for Benfica to win back possession on the halfway line. Down the right hand side, Prestiani dribbling into the centre now, and he has his pocket picked. Very smart recovery indeed by Lelo. Now on the edge of the attacking third, Barreiro trying to throw his hat in the ring and keep possession going for Benfica. And a scramble sees it fall to Dahl, left of centre. Shelder up, drifting inside. Barreiro stayed down after his collision. Now he's back to his feet. And it's just now that Braga have won possession back, and with that the referee is going to hold up the game for a brief moment, because down on the turf again is Demirega Tignaz. He was the one that got caught up in that tangling of legs with Barreiro, and it seems as though the Braga man has come out more affected. It seems as though as he makes the intervention his foot gets caught in the turf, and it's a tweak more than anything, but it's not one that Carlos Vicente will be keen to make a substitution for if it's not necessary. 3 minutes left of normal time to play of this first half. Perhaps that little injury scare for Braga will take the total amount of added time to 3 minutes. We'll find out in just a moment, as Hornicek takes a very risky but in the end rewarding touch on the corner of his 6-yard box with Ivanovic lurking. It's always interesting to see goalkeepers attempt that fake clearance and snap the ball away from their onrushing opponents, but in this case it's benefited Braga effectively. Down the left hand side, here they come now. It's into the centre for Tignaz, who's seemingly back to full fitness as he makes his way into the box, but he runs into traffic and the half clearance is made. Kept alive for Braga now by Victor, and it's Moutinho and Tignaz again down the left hand side. Two players in purple in the box, one of them's Gomez, the other Navarro, and the challenge is made, and the clearance too by Barreiro. Ivanovic gets it to Orsnes, who does his best to hold off a retreating Navarro on the edge of the middle third, and finds Ral. The ball forward there is cleaned up for Braga once again and cleared away at the first time of asking, out to the left for Pau Victor. Back now with Leonardo Lelo, who gets the return and gives it back again to Carvalho. Tignaz. Lagerbielke out to the left hand side, still inside the Braga half here. This build up has been slower than I think any that we've seen so far in this match, as Hornicek is also brought into the play at the edge of the penalty area. Waits for one of Shelderup or Ivanovic to get close before releasing it into the feet of Gorby, who holds it up well on the halfway line and spreads it out to the left. Martinez runs into trouble. Dedic wins it back cleanly and fairly. 30 seconds of normal time to play at the end of this first half. Orsnes. There's never a bad time to score, but as they say, there's not many better than right before the break. Neither of these two teams break the deadlock in this tense Liga Portugal affair, the penultimate game of the league season for both these teams, who have been eliminated from their respective European competitions at this stage. Braga in midweek by Freiburg in the Europa League, Benfica earlier in the season in the Champions League, but should they hold off Sporting, lurking behind them level on points in the Liga Portugal, then they will secure an opportunity to play at Europe's top table in 2026-27. The fourth officials board is raised at the Estadio de Luz. 2 minutes to play at the end of this first half, taken up probably mostly by that VAR call in the very early stages that denied Benfica the opening goal for an offside against Franjo Ivanovic. Beyond that, chances have been few and far between, but mostly fallen the way of Benfica, and mostly been deflected away for corners that came to nothing as they try and create something at the very end of this first half. Shelder up on the left, trying not to show too much of the ball to Gomez, able to find Orsnes. The back heel is creative. Shelder up keeps it going. It's into the middle of the penalty area, claims for a hand, and the header is Barreiro's directly into the arms of Lucas Hornicek, who gets his entire body weight behind the ball there. A grimace on the face of Barreiro. He knows he ought to have done better. A bit more direction on the header. There was a question of handball there as Martinez attempted an unorthodox clearance from the edge of his own 6-yard box. What he seems to do is kick it up into his own hand, and it's very much below the elbow. VAR might want to have a look at this. We could have some drama right at the end of this first half here, I think the referee, João Pinheiro, is getting a word in his ear. Did Martinez use his arm? This is definitely going to VAR, and if it's subject to a monitor check for Pinheiro, we might see a penalty be the final kick. Oh, it looks as though it's not, because the throw-in that was the result of the eventual clearance for Braga has now been taken for Benfica. Well, that is a surprise. Well, Benfica may well feel hard done by there, that a penalty claim was not taken seriously, or at least as serious as they might have hoped. But that is minute 47 now, after the throw-in from deep on the left-hand side for Benfica results in not having enough time to get it back up the field, and the referee now explaining himself to the Benfica players who are asking questions of that very late potential handball claim that Martinez apparently couldn't do much about it because he kicked the ball up into his own arm, and it's not something that was ever going to be intentional. But that to one side. It's been a half with chances that have come and gone, largely for the hosts, including a very early one indeed that fell to Franjo Ivanovic, who was convinced that he'd got his 7th league goal of the season, but VAR coming to Braga's rescue within 3 minutes of this match, and since then the pressure's been on, but they've held out and they've had one or two opportunities to counter that are yet to result in a true exhibition of Trubin's goalkeeping. But they'll be happy with the point that they have muscled their way into at this stage. Half time at the Estadio de Luz. Benfica 0, Braga 0. Tune in 15 minutes or so for this second half of this live audio coverage. Good evening and welcome back to this live audio coverage of this Liga Portugal clash from the Estadio de Luz. It is Benfica playing host to Braga in both teams' penultimate games of the league season. My name is Jay Cooper and I'll be your commentator for the next 45 minutes or so to run you through the action from Lisbon, with Benfica, the hosts, back out on the pitch, ready for this second half in the red shirts, the red socks and the white shorts. They are waiting on their purple-kitted opponents to emerge from the tunnel at the Estadio de Luz. But a nice moment at half-time for the Benfica women's team, because they were able to make their presence known on the field, carrying the trophy of the Campeonato Nacional Feminino League, the women's top division in Portugal, which they won with aplomb this season. And they were able to soak in the adoration of the fans inside the Estadio de Luz at half-time. A nice trophy procession for a team that have earned their flowers, as we ready ourselves for the second half of this penultimate Liga Portugal game. You join us with the score goalless from the first half, thanks to the intervention of VAR in the very early stages to chalk off a goal scored by the Benfica forward Franjo Ivanovic, what would have been his 7th of the league season were it not for the offside flag and a concurrence from the man in charge of this game, Mr. João Pinheiro, thanks to a word in the ear from him, from Luis Ferreira, the man in charge of the VAR. And Braga are now back out onto the pitch for the second half of this game as well, and they will need to be a lot more intense and demanding of themselves if they are to perform to their high standards and take something away from the Estadio de Luz in this match. Carlos Vicente, the manager, will have given them an earful at half-time, as you imagine will have done Jose Mourinho, the Benfica boss, with the two teams readying themselves and getting into position for this second half, which will begin with a Braga kickoff to be taken by the captain, João Moutinho, 39 years of age, still with plenty to offer this Archbishop's side as they close in on qualification places for the Europa League in 2026-27. Just 2 points from their remaining two games will be enough to see them beat Famalicão to the 4th place spot in the Liga Portugal, whereas Benfica come into this game knowing that any dropping of points could see them fail to qualify for the Champions League, with Sporting in 3rd, breathing down their necks, level on points, 76 at this stage of the Liga Portugal campaign with the Eagles. But one thing that it amazes me now that I read it, that I didn't mention in the first half, and I can only apologise for that, is that Benfica are 2 games away, should they fail to lose, should they avoid defeat, that's a better way of wording that, from an unbeaten season, and yet they are 9 points behind the already crowned champions Porto. Not often you see a team go invincible and fail to win the league, and yet Benfica are 2 games from this very unusual feat. All they have to do is see off Braga for 45 minutes and then see off Estoril Praia in their final game of the season next weekend, whereas Braga will play hosts to Estrela de Amadora. Arm raised then by João Pinheiro. We are readying ourselves for this second half, which will be kicked off by João Moutinho of Benfica, laying it off shorts to the forward Fran Navarro, and immediately 6 players in purple get over the halfway line and into the Benfica half of the pitch, but the well-oiled Benfica team keep their positions and force them backwards, right the way backwards in fact, to the goalkeeper Lucas Hornicek. Now here is the defender Leonardo Lello. It's a misplaced pass from the other defender in Carvalho, and here goes Prestiani into the penalty area for Benfica, and it's on a plate and turned in by Rafa Silva. 30 seconds on the clock in this second half, and the Rafa Silva has broken the deadlock for Benfica, and I don't think there'll be a VAR question about this one, just like there was in the first half. Brought back into the starting 11 ahead of Richard Rios coming into this game, Rafa Silva, and he rewards Jose Mourinho's idea to insert him into that number 10 role in this match. It's a really careless pass by Carvalho. What is he thinking? The interception is very easy indeed for Prestiani. Oh, in fact, Carvalho, I believe he lays it off, and I think it's Moutinho who makes the misplaced pass into the path of Prestiani. And then as Carvalho retreats, he leaves a trailing leg to try and stop the low cross, and it just carries it away from the retreating Demir Egetiknaz and from the penalty spot Rafa Silva says thank you very much. A collected finish into the bottom left-hand corner of Hornicek's goal, and he can only kneel down and watch it roll beyond him into the corner. 1-0 Benfica then, and the game is back underway. Braga kicking off 90 seconds after they already did to start the second half, but this time from a position of disadvantage. Throw in on the right-hand side, run very quickly now for Braga, taken by Gomez on the edge of the Benfica penalty area. Can they hit back very quickly? Gomez able to find the space for Jean-Baptiste Gorby, pulled to the edge of the box for Moutinho, who will be hunting for redemption after that careless pass was almost the entire reason that Benfica were able to cut Braga to bits in the defensive position, and a header is into the net! Can you believe it? Braga equalise, and it's Victor Gomez who buries it in the bottom corner. A minute removed from the kick-off after conceding the opening goal of this game, and a bullet header from the wing-back has dragged them level. This second half has exploded into life. A smart ball lifted over the top of the Benfica back line from the right-hand side. Oh, it's Gomez with the delivery. I have to correct myself on the goal scorer. Lifted into the danger area. The assist is provided by the Spaniard. And he was at the centre of the celebrations at full stretch to keep it in play and lifted into the danger area. Pau Victor is your goal scorer. He meets it with the header about 12 yards from goal, getting goal side of a stagnant Benfica defence. Thomas Araujo getting nowhere near as Victor got in behind and nods it into the far corner. Trubin at full stretch down to his right hand side, unable to get anywhere near it. This second half, 3.5 minutes old, and it's gone from 0-0 to 1-1 in the blink of an eye. I feel sorry for anybody who decided to wait for the second half to start to use the facilities or grab a drink at the Estadio de Luz, because they have missed an absolutely back and forth blitz of a first 4 minutes of this second 45. As Benfica are forced to press the Braga back line now as they pass in triangles around them back to their goalkeeper Hornicek. Long clearance made now by the Czechia goalkeeper, and it's brought down by the goal scorer Pau Victor inside of the centre circle. Out to the right hand side for the man who got the assist for his goal in Gomez. Gets the return ball back to Pau Victor in a crossing position on the right. Held up for long enough now to bring the defender Lagerbielke into play. Back with Victor. Back with Gomez. Back with Lagerbielke. Teasing the penalty area here, right on the corner are Braga. Lagerbielke. Gorby. What a frantic start to this second half. You wonder what Jose Mourinho and Carlos Vicente said to their team at half-time. Whatever it was, seems to have resonated with both of these sets of players. Victor Gomez now on the halfway line for Braga. And the triangle passes continue between Lagerbielke, Moutinho and Gomez. That's 50 minutes. Remember, this game that restarted 5 minutes ago at 0-0 is now 1-1. An opening strike from Rafa Silva cancelled out immediately by Pau Victor. That's his 9th of the season, it is worth mentioning. Here come Benfica now down the right hand side. Bit of space for Dedic to drill in a low cross into the danger area where Ivanovic was lurking, but Lelo knew he was there. Smart interception made by the defender. Out for a throw, taken relatively quickly. Benfica trying to catch Braga on their heels. Oh, and it's a slip on the left hand side by Dahl. Carelessly given away on the edge of the defensive third for Braga, and Lagerbielke will clip it forward. Nodded down by Navarro and attempted to be lifted out to the right where Gorby was waiting. Interception made. Here is Leandro Berrero, the Luxembourg midfielder. He tries to thread it forward, and the hold-up play fails Rafa Silva on that occasion. The clearance is made to the halfway line where the header is met by Thomas Araujo, and an attempted heavy touch by Rafa Silva to go one way and send the ball the other around Gustav Lagerbielke. Doesn't come off the way that he would have hoped, and the ball is returned to Lucas Hornicek inside of his own 6-yard box, and he makes the clearance, no questions asked. Met by the Benfica captain Antonio Silva now, and the head tennis begins. and ends as Victor Gomez tries to head it beyond Silva, hoping that Navarro would be on his wavelength and make the run in behind, but neither of those things came to pass, and Frederic Orsnes in the middle plays it out to the right to Dedic for Benfica. They're able to preserve the attack despite the interception of Leonardo Lello, but Prestiani on the push, trying to keep it in play on the right hand side, straight into an offside position as he stretched and recovered the ball from going for a throw. Instead what he's done is concede a free kick. Well, I hope everybody's gotten their breath back after a very frantic start to this second half, and I sincerely hope that everybody who was in the gangways at the Estadio de Luz was quickly back in their seat after they heard the first roar from the majority inside of the stadium, and then the second from a consigned corner of the ground populated entirely by Braga fans. We're back where we started with 7.5 minutes played of this second 45. Here is Carvalho, the Braga defender. Now Lello. Here is Tiknaz, who runs into traffic on the edge of the Braga half, and now Ivanovic can drive into the box, twisting this way and that. Ivanovic forced to retreat to the edge of the penalty area after just about breaching it, and then his pass out to the left hand side looking for Schelderup. Doesn't find its target. The interception is made for Braga. They play their way out to the left with Lello, back into the left of centre area on the edge of their own box. It's Carvalho, Lello again, down the line. Here is Gabri Martinez, and now Pau Victor, the goalkeeper, attempts to return the ball to Martinez, the goalkeeper, the goal scorer. I felt myself say it wrong there and had to course correct. As the attempted return pass then to Martinez is played down the line, it takes a deflection, and the resultant throw, taken by Gabri Martinez, launches the ball 30 yards further up the pitch in favour of Braga, and he wins a second. And again, as they try and break forward, as a result, it's Navarro who gets there first. And as he flicks it over the top of Amar Dedic, puts too much on it, and it goes for a goal kick. Taken by Trubin out to his left-hand side to Samuel Dahl. Now here is the midfielder Leandro Barreiro. Across to Dedic, and now into the feet of Silva. Left of centre. Back out to Dahl. Smart first time from Schelderup into the feet of Orsnes, and Schelderup's continued his run now left of centre, getting right to the edge of the box, chopping onto his left foot. Andres Schelderup, space for the shot, closed down by two players in purple as he gets into the box. Not away yet. Recovered by Ivanovic. Orsnes from a tight angle, good save. Down to his right hand side from Hornacek, across the face by Schelderup now, and Martinez launches it into the sky. It comes down into the feet of Prestiani. Now here is Dedic, not away yet for Braga, they still have to stay back. Dedic, Silva, across to the left hand side. It's laid off by Dahl. Orsnes, Schelderup looking for the return from Rafa Silva, and there's just a bit too much on it. Schelderup chasing it down, but sticking to him like glue was Gustav Lagerbielke, just to shepherd it behind for a Braga goal kick. Frederic Orsnes there, taking his first opportunity to strike at goal. He's been the man behind every set piece that's gone the way of Benfica so far in this game. But from the left hand side of the penalty area, from the edge of the box that is, he fancied his chances. And the first yellow card of the day has just been awarded now, 10 minutes into this second half, and I believe it's been given to the goalkeeper Lukas Hornacek, and I think that's for time wasting, which is not something you expect to say about a 1-1 game 10 minutes into this second half. But I think another yellow card's coming here for a challenge on Rafa Silva, because that was reckless, and it will be awarded in the direction of Leonardo Lello, I think it was, who slid in and crunched Silva to the ground. Nowhere near the ball, but it's a sweeping leg motion. It wouldn't look out of place in a wrestling ring there from the Braga number 5, and this free kick opportunity is a promising one for Benfica. Favours a left footer, which is why Dahl is making his presence known. But the right-footed option is Arosnes, and he has been the free kick arbiter of this game for Benfica. So Hornicek in the book for time wasting, and a reckless challenge by Lelo also sees his name taken. And now a three-man wall will defend this free kick. It's a very much right-sided free kick, about 5 yards removed from the edge of the box. What do Dahl or Arosnes have up their sleeve here for Benfica? It's Arosnes, it's lifted towards the back post, and the flick on is Silva's, and it's on the edge of the penalty area, and it's a very ferocious strike from Gianluca Prestiani that sails high over the top of Lucas Hornicek's goal. I'm not entirely sure that one was off the training ground there, because Arosnes' delivery to the back post, Silva flicking it back over his own head. I don't think he expected it to make it to the edge of the penalty area. With all the power in the world from Prestiani, couldn't stop the fact that it had faulty direction. Right into the stands, and the clearance is made off the resulting goal kick and brought back under Benfica's control in their own half. It's Dahl who now crosses back into Braga territory. Here is Araujo. Out to Dedic. Dedic back into the feet of Araujo. Right of centre. Now Berrero. Into the centre circle and back into Benfica territory. Araujo into the feet of Silva on the edge of the centre circle inside the Braga half, and Silva now finds a good ball to Dedic on the overlapping run, whose cross is blocked at source by Carvalho, throwing himself in the way of it, and he concedes a corner as a result. Another opportunity for Benfica to get bodies into the box. Prestiani standing over the top of it, out swinging corner, right footed from the right flank. In goes the delivery, and it's a bullet header just wide from Thomas Araujo, rising the highest there but unable to get the necessary direction. Probably about 2 or 3 yards to the right of the penalty spot as he got his forehead on the ball. Plenty of power, he kept it low as defenders are taught to do. Just not quite nestling it into that near corner. Instead it flies wide of Lucas Hornicek's post, and he makes the clearance from the subsequent goal kick. It's nodded down for Benfica to Dahl, and he's able to release it down the line. Schelderup doesn't quite show enough of the ball to Gomez despite the sliding challenge. Schelderup into the box now. Andres Schelderup to the edge of the box. Arosnes, and it's blocked inside the penalty area. Could land anywhere. Pau Victor back to defend, and he and Gabriel Martinez between them are able to win a goal kick by bouncing the ball off Amar Dedic and behind. Well, Benfica looking like they're likelier to score the next goal out of these two. And it looks as though Jose Mourinho is prepared to roll the dice in a big way, because stripped and ready on the bench is the club's top goal scorer this season with 21 in the Liga Portugal to this stage. Vangelis Pavlidis, the Greek forward, is readying himself to come on as we tick into the hour mark of this game at the Estadio de Luz. Not a very convincing clearance made by Anatoly Trubin, goalkeeper who made headlines this season in the Champions League for scoring a goal that would see Benfica into the knockout stages during the league phase. A goal-scoring goalkeeper to allow Benfica to make their way further into Europe's primary competition. They have one eye on Champions League football this season as well, as mentioned at the start of this second half. Currently level on points with Sporting, but ahead in the Liga Portugal table. As of right now, they will fall into that Champions League qualification spot behind the champions Porto. And one man who will be key in helping them secure that is now introduced to the fray. Vangelis Pavlidis, as a like-for-like for Franjo Ivanovic, is the first substitution for either of these two teams on the day. Let's see what he can do in the remaining half hour of this match. Free kick taken now by Trubin, the Benfica goalkeeper, right the way forward to Pavlidis, who knocks it down. Here is Prestiani into the centre, laid off to Schelderup, determined to weave his way beyond 2, 3, 4 into the penalty area, and the eventual strike is stopped by Lagerbielke. Back out to Prestiani, who stayed in the centre and made his way out to the left with the ball now. Trades passes with the captain Silva. Prestiani now making his way into the centre again. Barreiro tries to lay it off into the box as Prestiani is clattered into. He stays down. The referee says nothing about it. Benfica recover the ball on the halfway line. Played forward. Pavlidis, edge of the box, tries to slip it in behind. Rafa Silva was with him, but they weren't on the same wavelength, and Hornacek will say thank you very much indeed on the edge of his 6-yard box as it is passed into his feet. Now the referee checks on Gianluca Prestiani, who released the ball to Barreiro and then with his attention elsewhere collided directly with João Moutinho, who does his very best to stop the advance of Prestiani by throwing his body in the way. Just seems to have taken the wind out of the sails of the Argentine. Moutinho pleads his innocence, and the challenge in and of itself went unnoticed in the end by the referee anyway. Wonder what the Benfica fans inside of the Estadio de Luz are thinking about the referee João Pinheiro's performance so far in this match. It's a 3-letter word. It starts with B and ends in AD. Right at the end of the first half there was a contentious moment that I'll describe in just a moment, because here come Benfica down the left. Schelderup able to take it on in space and square it, and it's tapped over the line by Pavlidis. That is why he was brought onto the pitch, and he has wiped out his teammate with a chest bump there in celebration. But Benfica restore the lead. It's goal number 22 in the Liga Portugal this season for Vangelis Pavlidis, and the Estadio de Luz roars again as this unbeaten season continues and the march towards the Champions League is maintained. And Braga, questions ought to be asked of their defence there, because the ball over the top down the left hand side for Benfica to Schelderup found the Norwegian in all of the space in the world, the freedom of the Estadio de Luz to take it right to the byline inside the box, square it on a plate for Pavlidis, who is never going to miss in the red-hot form that he's been on all season for the Eagles. And the substitution made by Jose Mourinho is very vindicated with 65 minutes played. I think the game is going to be held up for just a moment here because VAR want to have a look at something. Did or did not Andreas Schelderup drag the ball out of play in his advance? The referee is going to make an announcement. He's getting a word in his ear. Did the ball go out of play? Or perhaps the celebrations are going to be put on ice for a brief moment. All eyes turning to João Pinheiro, and Luis Ferreira has told him that no, the goal should not be given. Schelderup appears to have taken one touch too many down the byline, and apparently the whole of the ball has gone out of play. I think that's contentious. It is close, I grant you, but you'd need to really freeze frame it to see. And I'm not sure, with the positioning of the camera and the posts being between the ball and the camera, I think you could go either way with that. But Benfica, who, as I was going to say before that goal was scored and then removed from the scoreboard, will feel disheartened by the VAR decisions that have been made in this game after, right at the end of the first half, a handball that looked for all the world like it could very well have been given against Gabriel Martinez, who now has the ball for Braga on the left, was glossed over by the video assistant referee. Well, Braga have been given another lifeline in this game. They thought they were a goal down in 3 minutes, but VAR said no for offside. And they thought they were a goal down just a moment ago, but VAR said no, the ball went out of play in the build-up. They were a goal down for all of about 60 seconds at the start of this second half. But with 66 minutes played, the scoreboard reads Benfica 1, Braga 1, and you can see the frustration starting to build a little bit on the face of the Benfica manager Jose Mourinho. As Braga ready their first changes of the day, we are going to see the removal of Gabriel Martinez from the field, and on in his place, a like for like, is Mario Dorgeles, the Ivorian international who was sent off in Braga's 3-1 defeat to Freiburg in midweek that saw them exit the Europa League at the semi-final stage. Freiburg, first-time finalists in that competition, will go toe-to-toe with Aston Villa for the opportunity to qualify for the Champions League in 2026-27. Benfica determined to do it the old-fashioned way by finishing second in the Liga Portugal. They need to take as many points as they can, knowing that Sporting, last season's champions, are breathing down their necks in that regard. Foul committed now by João Moutinho for Braga on the precipice of the attacking third for Benfica. Here is Dahl. Shelderup. Dahl again into the penalty area, trying to make space for the ball across the face of goal. Pavlidis was lurking, as was Prestiani. And getting in the way was Leonardo Lello. Shelderup so confident in his striding into the penalty area, so keen to just flick the ball inside and out of everybody in purple throughout this game. And it's his fancy footwork that's won another corner for the Eagles. It's going to be taken by Arsnes from the left-hand side, in swinging. Two players in red lurking on the edge of the box now as it's headed goalwards at the near post, over the top of everybody, and the crossbar by Antonio Silva. And the referee very quick to insist on a retake. I'm not entirely sure why that is. I don't think it was a second straight corner, but nevertheless it does come in from Arsnes. Maybe it was a second straight corner that was just taken very quickly. But nevertheless, the header is made away this time, and Prestiani battling away with the newly introduced Dorgeles on the right hand side, wins a throw, and he's determined to keep the attacking momentum in Benfica's favour now as Dedic plays it across the halfway line. Araujo to Arsnes, the corner taker. Now Dahl. Arsnes has continued his run. Shelderup trying to go this way and that around Lagerbielke, who says no thank you, shuts the door on the Norwegian. And Braga play their way out of danger, out to the left for Dorgeles. He's been a player of keen use for Braga in recent matches. He was a goal scorer in the first leg victory over Freiburg, the eventual defeat on aggregate that was 4-3 following the 2-1 home victory at the Braga Municipal Stadium. He was also a goal scorer against Estoril Praia 2 games ago, the most recent Liga Portugal game that Braga played, a 1-1 draw with the team that will be the the hosts of Benfica's final match of the league this season. Just a collision taking place now on the left-hand side as Braga launch it forward. Dorgeles again involved, and he's gone down holding the back of his head after going up for the cleared ball with Amar Dedic. What exactly happens here as one man jumps for the ball, the other practically jumps over the top of him, and there is the briefest of contacts against the back of the head of Dorgeles from the open palm of Dedic, but there is little beyond that. Free kick nevertheless. Benfica able to play their way out of danger. Here is the midfielder Arsnes. Gets it back now on the right hand side of the pitch. It's a clever flick on by Prestiani, and the overlapping run is made by Barreiro. Prestiani continues his run now, a little bit more in field. Prestiani into the box, and it's Prestiani's shot that goes wide, very far wide indeed, of Hornicek's goal. More than happy to watch that sail closer to the corner flag than to his top corner, Lukas Hornicek. Prestiani fancying his chances as he cut inside onto his left. Couldn't quite wrap his foot around the ball in the way that he would have hoped. It was almost floated out towards the far side of the pitch by the Argentine. Goal kick for Braga, taken long by Hornicek. The attempted flick on is from Dorgeles, and Pau Victor's on the overlapping run, and he's got there. Pau Victor into the box, cuts inside, he's dragged down, and the referee waves away the penalty appeals. Well, for once, Benfica will be happy with the referee's very blasé approach to the challenge made inside of the penalty area on the far side of the Estadio de Luz. In the first half, there were a few that Benfica were claiming for that the referee decided were not worth concerning himself with. This time, Pau Victor for Braga is claiming that his shirt was pulled as he tried to chop his way inside of Dedic. And it's hard to argue against it, to be fair. The VAR might want to look at this because there is a very much blatant grab of the shirt by Amar Dedic, but this throw-in is going to be allowed to be taken, I believe, so I don't think VAR is going to have the opportunity to intervene. The game resumes as the Braga claims, for the first time today, fall on deaf ears. There's a foul committed now on a Braga man. It's Pau Victor, the goal scorer, who is barged into from behind by Dedic, and Victor just pointing in the direction of the Bosnian there, saying, see, look what he's doing. Why didn't you give me that in the penalty area? Referee very quickly over just to make sure that no cross words are exchanged between the two. These two teams very successful in Portugal, but no local rivalry here. It's nice to see that the referee is able to stop the game getting heated in any way. Quite the distance, in fact, separates these two stadiums. The Estadio de Luz and the Braga Municipal are a 3-hour, 35-minute drive apart for anybody interested. A full 364 kilometres of road from the top end of Portugal to the capital. Now Braga have the free kick on the left-hand side, which they use to string a few passes together before the ball from Laga Bielka is played forward. Return to sender by by Benfica. As Braga ready, another substitution, seemingly stripped and ready to be introduced to the fray, is Rodrigo Salazar, who is the top scorer this season in the league for Braga. Of course, the man who got the goal today is Pau Victor. That's 9 for the season for him, which leaves him third in the scoring chart. Ricardo Horta, also on the bench this afternoon. Excuse me, not on the bench this afternoon, I correct myself. Pulled out of the squad for these closing games. But Rodrigo Salazar, very much so, and he is introduced now for Fran Navarro. That's a like-for-like, the number 10, assuming the role of the sole striker with Pau Victor seemingly darting either side of him. Gorby also a feature of these wings for Braga. The referee quick to award a yellow card here. Not entirely sure what for. I think Salazar strayed offside, but I'm sure he had a card in his hand. I might have to correct myself on that as well. Maybe it was just a raised arm and the bright yellow shirt threw me off that's being worn by João Pinheiro. But it was a gesture as if he was cautioning somebody. There's nothing in his hand. Not often you see that unless the referee forgets his equipment. Well, my colour blindness to one side. We are 15 minutes from time at the end of this Liga Portugal penultimate game of the season. Benfica 1, Braga 1. 2 goals in the very early stages of this second half. 1 for Rafa Silva for the hosts, 1 for Pau Victor for the visitors. And it's Pau Victor now who has his pocket picked on the edge of the centre circle inside of the Braga half. He's going to get the opportunity to receive the ball again from his defender in Lelo. It's cut out in the defensive line by Araujo for Benfica, and they have bodies forward, including Pavlidis. Chasing it down the right-hand side now after a deflected pass from Barreiro that's returned to sender. Barreiro tries to get it into the middle, but he's stood up by Dorgeles. Throw in on the right-hand side as the rain starts to fall in Lisbon. The sun has well and truly set. And Bruma appears to be ready to make his way onto the field. Well, he's going to be held back for just a moment, but there is one more change to be made for Benfica, and it will be in the midfield area as Dodi Lucabacchio is brought on as a like-for-like for Leandro Barreiro. No time for the number 7 just yet, but the number 11's presence will be felt. See what Jose Mourinho has to say about the rest of this game as the cards are being reshuffled by he and Carlos Vicente. Here is Luca Bacchio now, gets his first touch of the ball with an interception that allows Dedic to drive to the edge of the penalty area, releases it to Prestiani, and getting into the box was Pavlidis, and the referee points in the direction of Braga and tells Prestiani to get out of his face. It'll be a free kick for Braga inside their own box, and I don't know if it's for a dive or just a tangling of legs where the referee is found in favour of the visitors. Prestiani sticking a leg out, clatters into Lagerbielke, and then a challenge is made as the ball is inherited by Pavlidis, and I believe the question is, why has a free kick been awarded to Benfica for the unintentional challenge, the tangling of legs between Prestiani and Lagerbielke, whereas the out-and-out tripping by Gomez of Pavlidis. Oh, the referee's brought out a red card. I think Jose Mourinho has just been dismissed. Well, what else is new, I suppose? Or perhaps it's his assistant. Yes, it is. He's marching down the tunnel now. His assistant manager, Jose Mourinho's number 2, is shown a red for his protests. But another Benfica penalty appeal falls on deaf ears because of a challenge made maybe a second earlier by Prestiani that the referee spotted first. Well, they'll have justifications for all of these anti-Benfica decisions in this game, but you can't imagine that they will go over very well with the Eagles contingent. Certainly it hasn't gone down very well on the bench, where the fourth official getting an earful from Jose Mourinho's number 2 has led to a red card being shown in his direction. I'm sure Jose Mourinho can handle things alone on the bench, but at the same time, it's not an ideal situation that your number 2 will sit out the closing game of the season as Benfica travel to Estoril Praia. 12 minutes left of this game now as Benfica do their best to keep their Champions League fate in their hands. 1-1, they are being held by Braga at home. Still unbeaten in the Liga Portugal this season, which is still mind-blowing to me. Dedic tries to deliver from the right-hand side. Lagerbielke with the interception, and that's going to go for a corner despite the best efforts of Carvalho. It'll be a corner for Benfica now on the right-hand side. An opportunity for Luca Bacchio to show what he can do with a delivery into the danger area. In swinging. Left-footed from the right for the substitute. Belgian national. In it goes. It's deep and it's headed into the arms of Hornicek. It was food and drink in the end for the Czechia shot stopper there as the ball landed on the head of Pavlidis at the back post. He was always going to be the danger man inside of the Braga box. Hornicek with the long clearance. Chested down by Antonio Silva. Now here is Dahl on the left hand side. Back to Antonio Silva. Both he and his defensive partner in Araujo, the only 2 players inside of the inside of the Benfica half. Now crossing into Braga territory is Araujo with the ball. Problem is everybody else is currently behind it from a Braga perspective. In the midfield area now, here is Prestiani. He's moved more central after the introductions of Luca Bacchio, and now it's Pavlidis on the edge of the box. Space for the shot, and it's powerful and spilled by Hornicek, but there's nobody in red lurking to try and smother a rebound into the back of the net. Pavlidis probably would have been that player if he hadn't taken on the original strike from 25 yards. Now Dorgeles runs out of room on the left hand side as Braga try and play their way out of danger. Throw-in taken quickly by Dedic, but the referee just holds the game up for a moment because there's a man in purple down on the turf. It's the defender Leonardo Lello who is down, and the medical team are just going to have to see now to the Braga man. Howls of derision from the majority inside of the Estadio de Luz at the referee's holding up of the game there as Benfica had momentum on the right hand side. A throw-in that was wanting to be taken quickly. At this stage of the game, it's common to see the players of a team who want to see out the active result to all of a sudden come down with nasty cramps. Lelo's back on his feet to a majority inside of the Estadio de Luz shaking their head. Well, being shuffled over to the touchline means that Braga are going to have to temporarily deal with this Benfica attack with 10 men, but what they are going to do in the process is make a substitution, because coming onto the field is Gabriel Moscardo. Throw-in taken backwards in the end, or in fact Lelo being removed from the field is not a temporary solution to a potential problem. He is the man who has been replaced by Moscardo. As again Benfica come forward, Arsnes tries a sliding challenge after a loose ball falls into the feet of Luca Bacchio, who jumps over the top of him. Switch from left to right, brought down on the flank. Running into traffic though was the goal scorer Pau Victor Salazar as well, trying to make his presence felt after his introduction 5 minutes ago. It was his first opportunity to get the ball. Opportunity well snuffed out by a retreating Samuel Dahl. Throw in on the right hand side for Braga, taken by Gomez. Forward down the line to Salazar, who holds it up at the corner flag, runs into trouble. Dahl able to squeeze it into the feet of Arsnes, and Benfica get it away from inside their own penalty area. The flick on is Pavlidis. It's not going to find Luca Bacchio, and it's brought under control now by Pau Victor, driving to the edge of the box. Victor lays it off. Here is Dorgeles, back in towards Victor, able to knock it down. Dorgeles again. Gorby with him on the left if he wants it. Dorgeles goes central, clips into the area. Dorgeles continues his run, and it's intercepted. It was a good pass by Tiknaz, well spotted to try and find the Ivorian, but also alert to the situation was Thomas Araujo for Benfica. Now can they spark the counter? Down the right hand side, Luca Bacchio. Luca Bacchio twisting and turning, able to get the cross in, and it's fizzed wide by Rafa Silva, throwing himself at it on the corner of the 6-yard box, unable to get the right amount of redirection on it. Luca Bacchio with some smart feet there on the corner of the box to make space for the cross. I think Rafa Silva's attempted redirection actually came off a purple shirt. Corner awarded. Luca Bacchio takes it, flicked on at the near post. It's off the woodwork. Silva, I don't think it was off the woodwork actually. I think it flew over the bar and then hit the post that is holding up the goal behind it, because it rebounded spectacularly back into play. The flick on at the near post from Arsnes after a quickly taken corner by Luca Bacchio. And Silva on the edge of the 6-yard box, unable to turn it into the far corner. They're piling on the pressure now with just over 5 minutes left. Benfica 1, Braga 1. Is there a winner to be found in this game? Pau Victor has his pocket picked. Last 5 minutes and it's lashed forward for Benfica. Only to be intercepted by Luca Bacchio. By... Goodness me, I'm twisting up the names now. Lagabielka. Trying my best to describe what's happening as it happens to you, as these two teams throw everything that's not nailed down at one another. Here is Lagabielka again for Braga. Played out by Moscardo to Dorgeles. Pau Victor trades passes with Tiknaz, and he's in enough space to switch it out to the right hand side, where Gomez is in plenty of room, approaches the corner of the box. Gomez tries to lay it across the edge of the penalty area. Tiknaz 25 yards away, thinking about the shot, twisting and turning, runs into Arsnes. Benfica trying their best to keep Braga away, and I think the referee is now found in favour of Benfica for a sliding challenge made by Pau Victor on Rafa Silva, who is getting back and doing his defensive duties. Arsnes with the original challenge on Tiknaz, and the attempted recovery drew the ire of João Pinheiro, the referee. Now Benfica try and get it forward, lifting it out to the right towards Luca Bacchio. Gorby in the way. Moscardo. Tiknaz. Dorgeles tries the 1-2 with Salazar, and Mourinho watching his team being passed around there, went right over to Dorgeles, who slipped into the technical area, Jose Mourinho trying to go and have a word in the ear of Mario Dorgeles and slips over himself. That shows you the effect that the rain is having on the pitch at the Estadio de Luz. Not even the managers are safe as Dorgeles and his opposite number high-five one another. That being the Benfica man in Dedic. Now here they come again, Braga. Zalazar stopped in his tracks very emphatically indeed by Antonio Silva, but Braga keep it going on the edge of the attacking third. Lifted out to Dorgeles on the right. Here is Gorby. Gorby with a shot! Oh, what a goal! What a goal from Jean-Baptiste Gorby! From the edge of the penalty area, he was afforded 2 yards of room, and that is the mistake of Benfica. A wicked right-footed weapon from Jean-Baptiste Gorby has been swung into the far corner. Trubin at full stretch could get nowhere near it. And it's a goal that could confirm Braga's place in the Europa League qualifications ahead of next season. He was given just enough room on the edge of the penalty area to wrap his foot around the strike, left of centre, and it is a dream hit from the Frenchman. It starts out going so far wide of Trubin's net, but it bends so beautifully inside the post. Trubin couldn't dream of getting close to it, and he knows how good that shot was. High fives all round with his teammates. Less than 2 minutes to play now of normal time at the Estadio de Luz, and in their final home game of the season, their unbeaten record in the Liga Portugal is under serious threat. Benfica get us kicked off again. They've nothing to lose. They're going to throw everything at this now for the final 90 seconds, not including added time. That is Gorby's first goal of the league season. It's come in the second to last game, and it is a screamer. How about that? Now Benfica have it forward. Luka Bacchio. Pavlidis turns, tries to get the shot away. Lagerbielke in the way. The volley is shell drops and it's pushed away by Hornacek and recovered by Lelo, who makes the emergency clearance. Braga determined not to fall asleep at the wheel now. Arsnes gets the return from Dahl. Very deep indeed, and it's blasted high over the top by Tiknazi. Fancied himself. 35 yards or so from goal, nobody in front of him. And it's a strike that sails very high over the top of Hornacek's goal, who is going to have to be careful now because he has already been yellow carded for time wasting. Looks like he's leaving those duties to Carvalho this time, who's temporarily gone down nursing his leg. He is very quickly helped back to his feet. I wonder how much added time we're going to get at the end of this game. Remember, a Benfica goal was chalked off for VAR. There's been 3 goals in this second half that have been let go by the referee. I'm expecting 5 when the fourth official's board is raised. Can Benfica recover their unbeaten run at this stage of the season? Clearance made now by Trubin, the goalkeeper. As all eyes turn to the fourth official, Gorby brings it under his control, can't feed it into the path of Dorgeles. Comfortably intercepted by Dahl. 6 minutes. There you have it. Benfica have time. Arsnes tries to blast it forward. It's nodded down by Lelo. Excuse me, not by Lelo. He's been substituted by Carvalho. Excuse me. Not the number 5, the number 6. Recovered by Dedic from right to left. Sheldrup tries to fizz it into the box. Pavlidis tries to keep it going. Sheldrup forcing his way through a theatrical tumble inside the box, and I don't think anybody in the Estadio de Luz thought that the referee was going to award a penalty for that one, especially given just how much he's let go in this game. Sheldrup, those quick feet weren't quick enough on that occasion. Carvalho in the way, and the clearance was emphatic from Lagerbielke. They are determined to take all 3 points from the Estadio de Luz. It wouldn't be the first time this season that they've come away from this stadium with victory in hand for the Archbishops. They won 3-1 here in the Portuguese League Cup all the way back at the beginning of January. Oh, I think the question being asked now, that challenge that was made on Sheldrup, Carvalho kicks it into his teammate Lagerbielke, and I do think it comes off his knee, but there's a question as to whether or not his hand was in the way. There is going to be a VAR check here for a potential penalty. Maybe there's more weight to this collision than expected. The referee's going to the monitor. Well, this has come very quickly. The challenge itself was as clean as you like from Carvalho. At least I believe it was. Or maybe it's the left foot that gets the ball, but the right seems to catch the foot. Well, perhaps there is a foul in this. Well, this is going to be 2 minutes of the allotted 6. Oh, it's a very, very tricky one, this, because there's no doubt about the fact that Carvalho gets the ball, but as he puts his foot down, it's right on top of Scheldrup's foot, and you see these kinds of challenges given. The follow-through might be too much. What is João Pinheiro going to say as he makes his way away from the dugout here? All eyes on the referee. What's the outcome? Still waiting for the decision to be made. And the referee says, drum roll please. A yellow card's been awarded to Carvalho. I believe a penalty's been awarded to Benfica here. The protests are very, very frivolous from Carvalho and Moutinho, who can't believe the outcome of this decision. I believe the referee has awarded a spot kick. The roar of the Estadio de Luz is confirmation of as much. And it looks as though Benfica are going to have their best possible opportunity to save their unbeaten season at the very, very end of their final home game of the campaign. And it's going to be their top goal scorer, Vangelis Pavlidis, staring a hole through Lukas Hornacek in between the sticks, who needs to make himself as big as possible here if he wants to deny the Greek international his 22nd league goal of the season. It's already been chalked off for VAR. Can he put that wrong right now from 12 yards? Deep breath. Pavlidis. It's in the back of the net. Was there ever any doubt? Launched into the roof of the net by Vangelis Pavlidis, and Benfica survive the Braga scare. On 95 minutes, the ball is rocketed into the roof of Lukas Hornacek's goal to a roar that raises the roof of the Estadio de Luz. And after 2 or 3 contentious penalty shouts were chalked off by the referee in Benfica's favour, one finally goes their way. And Pavlidis makes no mistake. The game recommences now with a minute of added time to play. Maybe it'll be more because of how much time was eaten up by that VAR call. But it didn't look at all like it would have been a penalty at first viewing. Scheldrup went down theatrically, but the reason was because he was stood on. The follow through from Carvalho, who made the challenge and got the ball at the first try, took the man at the second. Here come Braga down the right hand side. They're not giving up on this just yet. It was Gomez into Victor, who tried to play it across the penalty area. It's bounced away off Araujo. Corner kick. 30 seconds of added time to play. Surely not, right? Surely there's not another twist in this tale. Victor Gomez is readying this corner, outswinging from the right hand side. Every single player should be in the penalty area here, but there's a scattering of purple shirts on the edge of the box. Last chance saloon. It's going to be Gomez with the delivery. Here it comes. It's deep. It's going to drop for Zalazar, who's in room. Rodrigo Zalazar tries to lift it back into the box. It's headed away by Silva. Flicked on for Braga, little unconventionally. Scheldrup gets there first, but Gomez on the recovery with a sliding challenge that leads to a Benfica throw on the halfway line on the left. We're into the 96th minute of this game now, and the referee is letting the play go for a moment. Down the line, here come Benfica. Dahl trying not to run out of room. Challenge made and clearance emphatically followed up there by Lagerbielke. Another throw that's allowed to be taken. Arosnes from left to right, brought down by Luka Bacchio on the right. His delivery is deep. It's towards Pavlidis. It's up in the air and it's launched into the sky by Gorby. Flicked on by Pau Victor. Benfica keep it going in the Braga half. The referee's still not blown his whistle, and we're about to turn into 97 minutes here. Luka Bacchio into the danger area from deep, and it's right towards the back post. It took a touch, I think, and so does Antonio Silva, who is screaming in the direction of the referee that Gomez took the decisive touch there. But there is a disagreement between he and the official, and I think the outcome of this now, the delivery from Luka Bacchio, was there a touch? I don't think there was. It goes for a goal kick, which I think was the right decision in the end, and if Lucas Hornicek has time, then this may well be the final kick of the match. Victor Gomez limps away from the scene of the stretching pry he made for the ball. Away it goes from the goalkeeper, and nope, not yet. The goal kick is allowed to bounce. It's attempted to return to sender. I thought we were there, but apparently we're not. This is going to turn into the 98th minute here. I wonder what minute the referee wants to go to here. It's either 98 or 99, surely. Throw-in taken now for Benfica. There is the whistle now that we've turned into the 98th minute. And that is that at the Estadio de Luz for the 2025-26 campaign. Benfica couldn't finish it with a win, but they can finish it with a draw. That will feel like a win, because it looked for all the world after a blitz of a start to this first half. They took the lead through Rafa Silva. They were cancelled out very quickly by Pau Victor, and then right at the end, a screaming goal from Jean-Baptiste Gorby on 89 minutes looked to be the goal that would completely undo this incredible unbeaten season that Benfica have had. It's an unbeaten season that won't see them lift the Liga Portugal trophy, but they will be determined to see it out next weekend. The only reason they get that luxury is because of a 94th minute penalty converted by who else? Their top scorer, Vangelis Pavlidis. And with the 2025-26 campaign nearing its conclusion, just one more game to go for both of these two teams. Estoril Praia away from home await the Eagles. Estrela da Amadora awaits the Archbishops on home soil at the Braga Municipal Stadium. Benfica still with one game to go if they want to confirm the opportunity to play Champions League football next season. Braga only a point from confirming the opportunity to qualify for the Europa League. Full time at the Estadio de Luz. Benfica 2, Braga 2. Thank you very much for tuning into this live audio coverage. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. I've been Jay Cooper, and we'll see you very soon for some more live football action. Goodbye for now.